I can't breathe it.
That's on you.
Sarah,
Stupid.
I can't breathe it.
Officers are traveling to the home of Sarah Boone, responding to an alarming call she made earlier that day.
911, what emergency? My boyfriend is dead, and I put him in a suitcase and we were playing, like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep and I woke up and he was dead in the suitcase, so I don't know what happened.
Okay, is he hanging from somewhere or what, ma'am?
No, I pulled him out of the suitcase.
When they arrive, they're immediately caught off guard by Sarah's matter-of-fact demeanor and by the appearance of an unexpected guest at the home.
Who is this guy? That's my ex-husband, my former husband.
How did he live here with you guys?
No, I called him over here.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
I didn't know what to do.
Just meters away, her boyfriend's body lies dead on the floor. Just hours ago, he'd been drinking and having fun, but quickly his evening turned into a nightmare when he was left inside a suitcase that would soon turn into a coffin. Sarah insists the whole thing is just a terrible accident, but as she's taken in for interview, police start to realize there are some serious problems in her story that simply won't add up.
Just because you're drunk doesn't mean that you...
times that you were not drunk. You said that you had your wits about you. You said he had his wits about you.
Both of us were.
So how long was he in there for? Like, this video is at 11:12 when it starts, so was he in there for like a long time prior to recording this?
No.
Over the course of the following day, they come to understand exactly what kind of a woman Sarah is, unearthing past issues, vendettas, and a history of abuse that points in an all too familiar direction. And as the truth begins to emerge, all she can do is watch on as the walls begin to close in around her, leaving officers fighting to unearth the truth, and a killer desperate to avoid the consequences of her actions.
I did not intentionally kill him.
After all is said and done, cops are about to discover they have a sadistic killer on their hands, whose act of malicious vengeance will turn out to be unlike anything they've seen before.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah,
You.
Sarah.
It's well past noon on the 24th of February 2020, and the officers at Orange County Sheriff's Office are preparing to wind down on what they expect will be just another normal Monday afternoon. Little do they know, a call is about to come in that will cause this day to stick in their memories for a very long time.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in a suitcase and we were playing, like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep and I woke up and he was dead in the suitcase, so I don't know what happened.
Okay, is he hanging from somewhere or what, ma'am?
No, I pulled him out of the suitcase.
Okay, listen to me. Lay him flat on his... Okay, ma'am, listen to me. I want you to lay him flat on his back for me on the floor.
I did.
Okay,
He's stiff and purple.
Okay, ma'am, that's fine. We're still going to do compressions on him, okay? Place the heel of your hand on his breastbone, right in the center of the chest.
Yes.
Put your other hand on top of that hand.
Just by looking at him, you can tell.
Okay.
As the call descends into chaos, one thing becomes startlingly clear. Something is badly wrong, and time is running out. A victim lies unresponsive at an address nearby, having suffered a potential asphyxiation after being zipped up and left in a suitcase the entire night. As bizarre a tragedy as this initially seems, the focus, first and foremost, is on attempting to resuscitate the victim. Over the phone, the operator runs the caller through CPR procedures, hoping that somehow she's managed to find him in time. Of course, the outcome looks bleak. Being cooped up for such a prolonged period of time can lead to a whole host of potentially fatal issues. Compression of the lungs leading to difficulty breathing, the rapid onset of panic causing an increased intake of breath, but most dangerous of all would have been the CO2 buildup in such a confined space, passing the toxic threshold in minutes, killing the victim where he lay. Even as the officers speak to the desperate caller, they know it's almost definitely too late. All they can do now is follow the procedure and send some officers to the home to find out exactly how such a freakish tragedy was allowed to occur. The first to arrive at the scene are EMS workers, who are still clinging on to a slight hope that the victim can be saved. But by the time the investigating officers begin showing up, it has already become clear that he is long since deceased, dying in one of the worst ways imaginable, stuck within a claustrophobic suitcase with no way of getting out. The brutal evidence of his demise is the very first thing to greet the officers as they conduct their search of the home. There in the living room lies 42-year-old Jorge Torres Jr., who, according to relatives, was last heard speaking joyfully over the phone to his mother the previous night. But now, he lies bloody and blue, as his girlfriend waits outside with a sorry story to tell police. By all accounts, Jorge was a man with two sides to him. On the one hand, he was a playful, non-confrontational man, close with his family and actively trying to better himself as a person. But get some drink inside him, and Jorge's nastier side comes out to play, a fact that will soon be deliberated and scrutinized by officers until they understand exactly how he came to end up in such a messy state. For now, however, they have another task at hand, to come to grips with the crime scene. See, their search of the home has unearthed some concerning details, to say the least. A baseball bat in the living room, wipes and cleaning spray in the bathroom, and a bin full to the brim with freshly consumed alcohol. The crime scene immediately paints the picture of a dysfunctional household, an image that will only be enhanced as cops delve deeper. And of course, there's no other place to start than with the woman whose account kickstarted the entire investigation.
You can't go back inside. What's going on? Who is he to you? Boyfriend?
Yes, for like 3.5 years.
What happened?
Like, he and I were putting a puzzle together. We've been doing some artwork together.
You are putting a puzzle together?
Yes, we have a puzzle that we started in there.
Okay.
We've been doing art, trying to take the stuff off the wall to make new art put up there, like having a good time with one another. But we're drinking. We had a bottle of wine last night.
Okay. Fine.
So then it's like, we decided to play hide and seek, right?
Okay.
So he gets in the suitcase. Problem is I fell asleep.
When did you do CPR?
This morning, when I found it. Yes.
It's 1 o'clock right now.
I was awake, but I actually got out of the bed at like 12:30ish, whatever. So I came downstairs, and I was like, oh, he's in the suitcase still. And that's when I found him.
42-year-old Sarah Boone is the girlfriend of Jorge Torres Jr. She's the woman who called police earlier that day. She repeats what she told operators over the phone. She and Jorge had been drinking wine the previous night, playing games and enjoying themselves. At some point in the night, Jorge playfully decided to get inside a suitcase, which Sarah proceeded to zip closed for fun. But then, tired and inebriated, she went upstairs to sleep, forgetting her boyfriend was inside the case and only remembering when she found him dead the following afternoon. According to Sarah, the events of the night prior were tragic and shocking, not least of all to her. The officer talking to her doesn't know what to make of her account. The evidence they've found suggests that the couple had indeed been using alcohol heavily, and there's nothing obvious to suggest that Sarah's story of a night of fun and games isn't true. But how could such a night slip so inadvertently towards death? Something isn't right, and the officer is eager to find out what. She continues to speak to Sarah in the hopes more details might emerge to help explain Jorge's unfortunate death.
So you were playing and who did come up in?
I did, but then I fell asleep.
Okay. You're okay. I wasn't here. I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
I fell asleep, so I don't know if he suffocated or like had an aneurysm or a heart attack or
What kind of medical conditions did you have?
None that I know of.
Nothing that you know of.
None
You
that I
didn't take
know
any
of.
medicine
No.
last night?
No.
medicine?
All we had was a bottle of wine. Literally, just a bottle of wine.
Okay.
Clearly overwhelmed by the situation, Sarah is instructed by the officer to sit down and await further instruction. By now, she's already given them a story of events which implicate her heavily in Jorge's death. However, if what she says is to be believed, her role was purely accidental, and the consequences entirely unintended. As her fellow officers set up a perimeter, sealing off the scene from any potential contamination, the original officer finds another individual of interest, whose appearance at the scene is somewhat unexpected.
Hey, how are you? Okay, so you don't live here, and this is following your ex-wife or current
Yes,
wife?
yes.
Okay.
No, ex-wife. We've
Okay.
been divorced about a year and a half.
The man she's talking to is Brian Boone, Sarah's ex-husband, who she called to help as soon as she discovered Jorge's dead body downstairs.
About 11:30 is when I started calling to find out, because this is supposed to be her day. Her child.
Okay.
She's generally not very good about always doing it.
They called back and said she was still there, or she came back.
So I was calling to find out if she was going to be getting him or not today.
From school?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I started calling like 11:30, called every half hour, 12:49, which is when she told me what was going on and if I'd come over here. So I came over.
Brian tells the officer exactly how he came to be at the scene of the crime, claiming he'd finally managed to get in touch with Sarah just before 1 p.m. after calling her all day to make arrangements regarding their son. It was then she told him about Jorge's shocking death, asking him to come over to help her sort things out. But that's not all. See, Brian knows his ex-wife better than anyone, and he's about to bring up a troubling backstory that leaves cops wondering whether Jorge's death was as accidental as his girlfriend insists.
Okay, but you've met him before?
I've met him before, yes,
Okay.
yes. They've got a full fun history.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, you guys have been called over here twice.
For the two of them?
Yeah, he's been arrested like I think 5 times for against her, so.
Really? Okay, I'm not familiar with, I haven't been here personally.
So
they have
he's currently on parole because of it, so.
Because of domestic violence with her?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Every time she'd have him arrested, the next day she was trying to get him bailed out too, so I don't know what it is.
Oh,
Instead of the fun, light-hearted lovers that Sarah was keen to portray in her testimony, Brian's story presents her relationship with Jorge in a much darker light. Little did the responding officers know, but Jorge has been arrested on multiple occasions following complaints of domestic abuse made by Sarah. But like clockwork, Sarah would always change her mind the following morning, bailing her boyfriend out until the next time he crosses the line. If Brian's account is to be believed, the truth behind this rash and impulsive pair of lovers might well hold the key to the relationship's sudden end. And more importantly, it's about to give cops their very first angle. That's because Sarah's description of events differs wildly from the one they've just been given. On top of the freakish nature of the tragedy and the suspicious length of time it took for her to report the crime, Sarah failed completely when questioned to inform the officers of the problems in her relationship, a fact that's just too important to have been left out by accident. As Brian finishes telling his story, detectives have arrived with the intention of escalating the investigation. Their approach will begin softly, establishing an initial narrative and probing Sarah for any soft facts they can gather. But beneath the innocuous facade, they have some more serious points to establish, namely, whether any aggravating factors could help explain what happened.
Okay.
Can I ask, is Brian, George, is he diagnosed with any kind of medical history?
Not that I know of. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't take drugs. I mean, we'll have the occasional bottle of wine here and there, but I don't know.
That was going to be my next question. So you guys don't normally drink? You just drink once in a while, or?
Well, I'm going to say, okay, I guess normal drinking is, we will have, a glass of wine or two, while we're cooking dinner. Sure. Cooking here, and we'll play a board game with him, and little games right there. But, I mean, it's not
A couple of beers a day is?
Well, but I don't understand, though, for the little bit that we had, not had anything to even do with it. I don't know if he had a heart attack or a stroke or an aneurysm or what happened to him. I don't know.
After you zipped him up, did you move the bag around and mess with him at all, or you just zipped it up and walked away
Me and I
laughing?
both were laughing about it, but I went upstairs and I fell asleep.
Okay. He was laying on his side.
Yes. Yes.
You just closed the flap and zipped it around.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe we were playing.
Sarah's story remains much the same as the one she shared with first responders earlier. But there's one subject they haven't yet touched upon, and Sarah seems to think it might hold dire consequences.
I'm just telling you,
this is going to be a while.
I'm afraid for my life. I want you to know that. I am afraid
Why is that?
for my life. His family have never liked me. I'm the blue-eyed white devil, is what they call me. So they've never liked me. They've never taken me in. They've never accepted me. I'll put it that way.
Have you called any of them?
We talked to his daughters yesterday.
No, I mean
about this? Does
No.
anyone know? Okay.
That's
So
why
no one's gonna know until we will be making that notification. So
they're going
it's
to kill me.
okay.
Do
Well,
they live local?
Yes, they're down the road. They're going to kill me.
Of course, Jorge's family would be entirely justified in believing he's been murdered, because that's exactly what happened, and Sarah knows it all too well. You see, despite her attempts to alter and reframe events to suit her narrative of a night of fun gone wrong, the truth of what she did to her boyfriend is as sadistic as any case the investigating officers are likely to have seen. The detectives don't know it yet, but they have a cold and calculated killer in their grasp. One who beat Jorge Torres with a baseball bat before mocking his dying body as he gasped for air within the suitcase. And if that wasn't enough, she filmed the entire ordeal so she could watch it back for her own twisted gratification. Although it's only a matter of time before all the gruesome details come leaking out. For the time being, Sarah is not yet ready to give up her act. As the medical team check the body and the detectives do another sweep of the house, she realizes time is running out to escape the consequences her actions are sure to bring, and she's about to put on a show.
I'm really scared. I want you guys to know that.
We have all these evidence here, so while we're here, nothing's gonna happen to you.
And then, but I don't this was totally not intentional. That's what I'm scared about too. What do you just tell him? What do you tell his parents? What's the reason he passed away?
We tell them what we know at that point.
yeah.
We tell them the truth.
Yeah, they're gonna know what we're here, what we're investigating, and that
They're gonna think I killed him. They always have said that. They've always have said that.
What have they
I
said?
told you it's because I'm the blue-eyed white dragon. That's what they call me.
Eventually, the officers wrap up the day's investigation, seizing Sarah's phone and cordoning off the property, before agreeing to help her find a place to stay where she'll feel safe from Jorge's family. Since her own family can't take her in, she stays at the house of her ex-husband, Brian, where she'll spend a long night deliberating over the murder she's committed. Meanwhile, back at Orange County Sheriff's Office, the detectives have a long night ahead of themselves. They collect as much evidence as they can, collating medical information, witness statements, findings from the scene, and anything else they can use to try to find out where they should be pointing the finger. And while combing through Sarah's phone deep into the early hours of the morning, they finally find exactly what they're looking for. Now, all that's left is to invite Sarah in for an interview, where they'll unleash a two-pronged attack designed to lull the murderer into a false sense of security before presenting her with the horrific evidence of her crimes. The very next morning, that's exactly what they do.
We went to his autopsy, and we were informed of some injuries that he has by the doctor. So so he's got scratch marks to his back. I know what that's about.
As soon as the interview begins, the detectives explain what the autopsy conducted the previous night has given them. On Jorge's body at the time of his death were a number of concerning marks that could only have been applied through blunt force or trauma. Suspecting this was another example of the physical relationship he shared with Sarah, they seek to push her for answers, hoping to find out exactly how Jorge might have suffered such injuries. However, her ardent denial is about to give the officers precisely what they were looking for.
He also had, on the left side of his forehead, he had basically bruising, and on his head and skull.
I have no idea.
As if something hit him.
I
considered
have not
force
touched him.
trauma.
I have not touched him. I have not touched him.
Yeah.
We had a good day.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good day. We've had good days lately.
Mm-hmm.
Even considering everything that's going on with our jobs and life in general and ex-wives and everything. It's been good.
So the last physical was probably, you said, I think, a month ago? Where you got the injury, right? You said that was a month ago?
A few weeks.
Unfortunately for Sarah, she has just been caught in a lie. Little does she know, the deputies are aware of far more than they're letting on, having already talked to people who knew Jorge, who have repeated the same worrying story about his relationship with Sarah. And according to Abraham Moreno, a colleague of Jorge's who's recently reconnected with him after they started working together, the last physical altercation was a lot more recent than Sarah's letting on.
So, you said that you last saw him, you said it was last Tuesday?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday, okay, thank you. So last Thursday was the 20th?
Correct.
Sound about right? Okay. Now, what can you tell me about George and Sarah's relationship?
They had an on-off rocky relationship, which was physical on occasions. I'm aware of the fact that George had a probation officer. He was in anger management. And again, they had their good times, their bad times. Sometimes he would instigate the situations. Majority of the times, Sarah Boone instigated the situations. And
Did they both drink a lot?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
In excess.
What?
In excess. They didn't drink to drink. They drank to sunrise to sunset, all the time in between.
When did he confide in you about like their last physical argument or fight?
The last physical fight that they had, she mentioned it to me, Melissa, and Mr. G when she got arrested. That a couple of days ago they got into a fight where he grabbed her by her hair and drug her down the steps.
Okay.
And that would probably be a day or two before this situation happened.
For Sarah, this spells big trouble. Those who know her are painting the image of a rash, impulsive woman who's no stranger to violent confrontation. But even as her own reputation seems to be coming under scrutiny, she doesn't seem to sense the precarious situation she's in.
I don't think you all understand. He comes at me all the time. He comes at me. So it's either I flee or try to go upstairs and go to sleep. That's usually what it is. And I don't know if you talked to Brian about any of that, but most of the time when I flee, I go over there.
Of course, the officers have spoken to Brian, and he's been very clear about the history of violence in the couple's relationship. But far worse than that for Sarah. By painting Jorge as a belligerent drunk who frequently comes after her and attacks her, she's creating a very real motive for herself to do him serious harm. This isn't a fact that's lost on the interrogators, who continue to question her on her past issues. And as Sarah's guard continues to be left dangerously low, she finally slips up for all to see.
So what do you mean by he comes after you? Like,
he gets belligerently drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you all have looked through my phone yet and seen any of the pictures and the videos that I have taken.
The problem for Sarah is that her phone contains more than she's letting on. A lot more than she's letting on. In fact, the damning evidence the cops have already uncovered will soon be enough to sew the case shut once and for all. But before they can reveal what they've found, the interrogators will attempt to lock Sarah into a concrete narrative that she will be unable to wriggle out of once they lay their trap.
You're making it sound like he's a raging alcoholic today, and yesterday I was kind of asking you those questions, and you're like a little defensive, like, no, we're not alcoholics.
I'm not.
We are not, you know. But you guys were both sober on Sunday, to your knowledge, because when I said you went and passed out, you were like, no, I didn't pass out, I just fell asleep. So now it's kind of like, what is it? Were you guys drinking and it got out of hand and it got physical?
No.
Or is it...
Sunday was one of the better days that we have had in quite some time.
Well, let's talk about Sunday. What was Sunday? So I'm just curious, like, if you recall when you went upstairs to hide in the shower, or...
Like when we started to play hide and seek.
Yeah.
So 8 o'clock-ish?
Is when you went to hide upstairs originally?
No, that's when we were like painting. So then it's like, okay, well, I don't want to paint anymore. Let's just, come on. Okay, you want to play hide and seek? What he does is, okay, tag, you're it. So it's like, okay, we know. Okay, take off.
And then you went upstairs, and then he didn't come up, and you came down. And the suitcase was there originally because you guys were planning to do donations, so it was already there. Have you guys ever played you said you played hide and seek like probably 3 times in your relationship?
Mm-hmm.
When you have played, have you ever zipped him up in a suitcase prior?
No.
Okay. So it was just kind of like that prop was there, and it was there,
yes.
and it was in play because...
Why do you say it like that, though?
I would never do that.
You would never zip them up in a suitcase?
Sarah repeats a similar story to the one she gave the previous night, telling the officers that she and Jorge had spent some time painting and doing puzzles outside before moving inside once it got dark and deciding to play hide and seek. But she still doesn't seem to realize how precarious a situation she's in. All of the questions to this point have been carefully crafted and delivered to lock her into a narrative that will soon begin to close around her. She has claimed she wasn't drunk, a fact that means her forgetfulness is even less justifiable. She's also discussed the problems in her relationship, painting Jorge as a man to be feared, which begs the inevitable question, had Sarah finally had enough? But the most damning piece of evidence is still yet to come to light. And as Sarah sits before the officers, pleading her innocence, her entire facade is about to come crumbling down before her eyes.
Okay, so do you remember making any videos or maybe having any any photos, videos that you remember doing on your phone on Sunday?
No.
No?
I think I took a picture of a dog.
So, to your recollection, no videos on Sunday?
Not that I'm aware of.
So, I have something that I want to show you that we found, and it was from your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it?
If you need to move it around, go ahead.
No, I don't remember that.
For everything you've done to me. For everything you've done to me.
Your battery's about to die.
Shut it down. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Let me just grab something.
All right.
I don't think you all understand who I am, where...
Okay. Well, tell me.
I mean, I've always been a straight-A student. I am an outstanding mother to my son.
Okay.
I excel at everything. I would not do that.
You wouldn't zip somebody in a suitcase?
Well, I didn't, completely lock it. I mean, I opened it with one finger. I left enough in there for him to get out. And I wasn't planning on going upstairs and going to sleep. You're scaring me.
Why?
Well, we just want you to watch this. This came from your phone. Don't you want to know what's on it?
Yes, please. Is it long? Because I don't know how much I can take.
Mm-mm.
No.
Do I have to watch this? I continuously throw up. I don't sleep. I don't want to see it, if that's okay.
Well, it's on your phone, and you can either explain it or we take it for what it is.
Yeah. We're just trying to give you the opportunity to tell us what's going on. That's it.
It's that long?
2 minutes.
No.
For everything you've done to me. For everything you've done to me. Fuck you. Fuck you.
The footage that the officers have obtained shows Sarah filming Jorge as he's stuck inside the suitcase, mocking him and telling him his torture is revenge for everything he's done to her. The videos themselves are simply too horrific to be shown, but even with just the audio, the sadistic nature of this cold-blooded murder is clear for all to see. As Sarah sits in what is quickly beginning to feel like a prison cell, she pleads with the officers not to make her watch the brutal act she's carried out. And before long, she reverts to the calculated act she was portraying earlier, downplaying what she's done and attempting to deflect blame to anything other than herself. Only this time, the act won't work.
My plan was not to go upstairs and go to sleep.
Well, that's what you did.
Yeah.
But not intentional of.
No, you told me you went upstairs because you were
Stop
getting
here.
ready for bed.
Stopped here.
Okay, but
Where's here?
show me where you can see any fingers coming out, because there's the end.
And his head's right here.
Mm-hmm.
So going like this, rather than going all the way up, it's like this.
But why is he saying I can't breathe, and why is he pushing on it as if he can't get out?
And it doesn't show a hole.
There's no hole. There's no fingers. I don't see his fingers. There's no hole.
I don't know what you want me to tell you. I don't know, what you want me to tell you.
He's begging for you to let him out. You're laughing in the beginning, and then in the end it sounds kind of like a...
No, it's not malicious.
Well, saying you.
It's not malicious.
Then what is that?
Please understand that. My intention was not to leave him in there.
Not able to get out.
You told me he was laughing, and
We were before.
The video, there's no
When we
laughing.
first got in there, both of us were.
So how long was he in there for? Like, this video is at 11:12 when it starts, so was he in there for like a long time prior to recording this?
No. No.
So it goes from funny to no longer funny,
But
you're the only one laughing.
But I didn't think that he was, like, panicky. Like,
So pushing up on a suitcase saying, Sarah, 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 I can't breathe.
No matter which way she attempts to spin it, Sarah cannot deny what the video shows. And things just keep getting worse, as a former trap laid by the detectives now comes back to bite her.
You remember making that video?
No.
Why don't you remember making the video?
Probably because we had been drinking.
But you weren't drunk.
No. Just because I went upstairs and... Just
You
because
told
you're
us-
drunk doesn't mean that you...
told us times that you were not drunk. You said that you had your wits about you. You said he had his wits about you, intoxicated.
Okay. I understand where you all are coming from.
What do you think is going to happen if you leave somebody in a confined space like that?
Well, I thought by not zipping it up all the way, it would be okay. My plan was not to leave him in the
And what was
suitcase.
your plan?
Waiting for him to come upstairs.
And then when he did it?
I fell asleep.
Contrary to what Sarah has repeatedly told police, Jorge's death was no accident. In reality, the night unfolded in a far more sinister manner, beginning with heavy drinking and devolving into a bitter and premeditated vendetta designed to punish Jorge for his perceived wrongdoing in the most brutal way imaginable. But even with irrefutable evidence staring her directly in the face, Sarah refuses to take responsibility for what she's done, still clinging on to the delusion that everything was a tragic accident. By now, the only option the detectives have left is to spell out exactly what she's done.
You realize you're the person that killed him, right?
I thought about that.
Okay, you left him in a bag when he's begging you, saying, I can't breathe, let me out, and you said, F you. And you got up off the couch and went upstairs and left him in that bag.
Not intentionally.
Again,
I would never do that to George.
you did.
Not intentionally. Know that.
I don't.
With this final denial, it becomes clear that Sarah isn't going to buckle. So, without any other option left, the deputies prepare for the final stage of their investigation.
Do you promise and swear that everything we talked about today has been true and accurate to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, but it was not intentional.
After over 2 hours of interrogation, Sarah is finally arrested and transported to jail, where she'll face trial early the next morning. Her repeated claims that Jorge's death was unintentional cannot withstand the damning evidence presented in the videos she'd forgotten she'd captured. What's more, even if the death was somehow ruled accidental, it wouldn't shield her from the consequences of her negligence that led to the death of her boyfriend. For now, all she can do is wait in a jail cell, mulling over the act of pure malice she's committed and wondering whether she'll ever see the light of day again. In the end, several converging factors led to the inevitable imprisonment of Sarah Boone. Aside from her criminal failure to act when Jorge begged for his life from within the suitcase, officers have uncovered enough to build a compelling argument that this horrific act went far deeper than mere negligence. First come the timeline discrepancies. On numerous occasions, she lied outright to police, denying that she and Jorge had fought recently, despite clear testimony from multiple witnesses claiming they had an altercation just 2 days before the murder. But if that wasn't suspicious enough, she also made constantly differing claims as to her level of intoxication, seemingly hoping at first that being sober would lend credence to her testimony, only to play the drunkard when it dawned on her that this lucidity would incriminate her. And of course, worst of all is the truly disturbing footage she captured on her phone, gloating and mocking poor Jorge as he lay cooped up in the suitcase, begging for his life. It wasn't the alcohol that drew up an act so malicious, nor was it her forgetfulness that led to her boyfriend's demise. This was as calculated an act as will ever be witnessed, and Sarah Boone is nothing more than a murderer. This was also the opinion of the judge when Sarah stood trial in December 2024, having already spent 58 months behind bars. The jury was told about Sarah's vile attack and of her ongoing denial. It also came to light that Sarah had rejected a plea deal that would have seen her serve 15 years if she admitted to manslaughter. As a reward for her defiance, Sarah was found guilty of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison for her crimes. She used her final remarks to apologize to Jorge's family, but ultimately stopped short of expressing outright regret. "I forgive myself for falling in love with a monster," she said, "and no matter how grotesque he may have become, I still loved him, hoped, and forgave." Sarah's words mean little now.